Hi everyone, my name is Michelle Lindo-Rice, and I'm pleased to be one of the newest authors signed with Brown Girls Books. I am a part of their Faith imprint, and the Brown Girls Books is a company started by Rashonda Tate Billingsley and Victoria Christopher Murray, and they put out the best in books. I'm going to be reading chapter 4 from my first novel with Brown Girls Books and the first book in the Nothing But the Truth series. It's chapter 4 because I've shared the prologue and the first 3 chapters on my website www.michellelinda.rice.com, and I've also shared it on my blog michellelinda.blogspot.com. Please check them out. So I'm assuming that you'll read the first 3 chapters and they will have you hooked. I know that you are just ready to hear the fourth chapter. So I will be reading that for you today. And yes, I do have a Jamaican accent, but my characters are not Jamaican, so forgive them temporarily. And I am feeling a little bit under the weather because let me tell you, people, allergies in Florida will knock you off your feet. But I'm going to push forward because I am just so excited about Tell Me Lies. It's set right here in Port Charlotte, Florida, and it does have an interracial storyline because there are tons of interracial couples here. Believe me, if you come, you'll see what I'm saying. So, Sydney Richardson, the lawyer, the attorney, has met Pastor Noah Charleston. And so I'm picking up from chapter 4. I hope you enjoy it. By the way, just to set up the scene for you, because I won't read a lot of, may not read some of the narrative because I'm acting out the scenes for you. Sydney has just returned from court, and excuse me, she's just returned from court, and so she's going to her legal secretary, Portia Campbell, to check on her messages. So meet Portia and Sydney. Any messages for me? Sydney asked the dark-skinned Lupita Nyong'o lookalike. Portia nodded. Let me call you right back, she said to the person at the other end of the line. She handed Sydney a couple messages. Lance called about 3 times. What did he want? I didn't ask any of those times, and I didn't bother taking a message. Good. Sydney's chest heaved up and down. Just hearing his name threw off her equilibrium. And Noah Charleston called. At the mention of Noah's name, Sydney strove to hide her smile, but failed. Portia lifted a brow. Sydney tilted her head toward her office. Portia stood and followed Sydney inside. I met him about 2 weeks ago. We've gone out about 4 times, Sydney said, dropping onto her leather chair and kicking off her heels. I didn't tell you because I had to be sure there would be something to tell. Well, obviously now there is. Portia propped her hands on her hips. So, tell me more. There isn't much to say yet. Sydney cleared her throat. Is Curtis in? We're supposed to meet this afternoon. Portia rolled her eyes. Yes, Mr. Big Shot is here. I confirmed you for 2:30. Why do you insist on calling him that? Because he thinks he's all that and then some. Portia raked fingers, painted with Jamaican flags, through her purple streaked, spiked hair. Last month, it had been burgundy. The other attorneys in the firm had raised their eyebrows at Sydney's decision to hire her, but within 2 months changed their minds. Portia confessed she had declined 2 other offers to transfer to a more lucrative position. Sydney planned on making partner and rewarding Portia for her loyalty. After 3 years, they were more than co-workers, they were friends. Curtis is smart and he has his eyes on you, Sydney said. Portia groaned. He can take several seats somewhere. I'm not interested. He's an opportunist and he's after your job. She jutted her chin. So, tell me more about Noel Charleston. He called you 2 times, by the way. Before Sydney could answer, Portia glanced at her watch and held up her hand. I'll be right back. Portia returned, holding takeout in one hand and Sydney's dry cleaning in the other. Sydney did not know how Portia knew she had not eaten or when Portia had picked up her dry cleaning, but after the exhausting day in court, she was grateful. Portia's ability to meet her needs was downright creepy at times, but Sydney wouldn't trade her for anyone. Sydney sunk her teeth into her hamburger. Mmm, delicious. Portia waved her hand. Yes, Wood Street's grilled food is always on point. Now, back to this Noah. He's. Sydney searched for the right words. I like him. Portia crooked her head. Go on. Sydney smiled. At first, I thought he was a jerk, but he's insightful. From our first date, when we talked, I felt as if he was truly listening to me. Plus, he's original. He says he plans on taking me horseback riding. I can't see you horseback riding, Portia said. Sydney nodded. Me either. But I'll try it once. I told him we could go in a few weeks when I'm not as swamped. I don't trust horses, but you go, girl. I'm glad you're giving someone a chance. It's about time. I have to finish up this paperwork. I've printed your brief for the Burns case, and don't forget, Curtis is coming to meet with you in 15 minutes. How could I? Once Portia left, Sydney looked around her office. She had a decent sized space. She had earned every square inch. No way would she let Curtis get what was hers. You wanted to see me? Sydney jolted at the voice and straightened. Yes, Curtis, come on in. She smelled him from across the room. She liked the scent. Normally, Sydney would have asked him about the name of his cologne or about his trip, but today she was all business. In his deep blue suit and crisp purple shirt, Curtis would make any woman take a second glance. His shirt was unbuttoned at the top and he had ditched the tie. He often did that when he was not in court. Curtis sat in the chair Portia had vacated and crossed his legs. A very expensive black watch graced the hand resting on his thigh. His position said, I'm relaxed, but Sidney knew better. His rapid blinking gave him away. Care to explain what happened in court with Manny's case? Sidney asked. Curtis looked up at the ceiling before sliding his glance her way. I did learn about Pastor Noel Charleston, but I didn't get a chance to. Don't feed me nonsense. You're too organized. What is this about? Nothing, he stammered. You don't have to sabotage my career to get ahead. His head bobbled left and right. I'm not. I mean, I wouldn't do that. I was working on the boating accident for James and I forgot to brief you. It was an honest mistake. Sidney glared. One that should cost you your job. His eyes widened. Please don't. I'm the sole caretaker for my mother. All she's ever wanted was to see me become a lawyer. I'm sorry. Sidney hated coming at Curtis so strong, but if it were the other partners, Curtis would be fired. She relaxed her shoulders and softened her tone. Don't let it happen again. His spine curved like a snake. Almost. I won't. I promise. Sydney bit her lip. There was something disingenuous about him, but his mistake had led to her meeting Noah. Thinking of Noah cooled her. I'll need the research for Alec done by noon tomorrow. We go to court in 1 month. I don't want any more surprises. He coughed. I'll have it done. With a jerk of the head, she dismissed him. Curtis sounded sincere with his apology, but her spirit said otherwise. The only time she knew he spoke truth was when he spoke of his mother. Everybody, and she meant everybody, knew how Curtis felt about Bernadette Chapman. She was his world. Sydney swiveled in her chair to face the wall and close her eyes. Lord, give me strength. and wisdom. After that short prayer, she reviewed the Burns case and Portia's to-do list. Portia loved lists and post-its. Sydney adopted that as well. She had a list for everything. Sydney had even installed a specially built dry erase board for her cases. Sticky notes and lists lined the board. It was 5 p.m. before Sydney returned Noah's call. I miss you. I can't wait to see you again, Noah stated on the other end of the line. Sydney heard the lovelorn expression in his voice and grinned. Then she confessed, It's crazy, but the feeling is mutual. I have to see you. I had a meeting with the church board, Noah said. His change of topic piqued her interest. Oh, I forgot your official start date is tomorrow. Yes, and evidently I'm in big demand. Noah's sarcasm wasn't lost on her. Explain, Sydney said, reading through the Burns case while listening to Noah ramble. Her eyes bulged when she heard about the wager. Did you say $20,000? He had her full attention now. Yes, I did. That wager that wager happened at my church in Texas. The deacons learned about it because some of the young women here copied the idea. I think the bet is up to $3,000, Noah explained. I need you to rescue me. Can we be exclusive? Sydney put her tongue in her cheek. She had never been asked out so formally before. Dating a gentleman was so much different, but this was way too fast. She opened her mouth to tell him so, but instead heard herself saying, I'm just getting to know you. Sydney, I'm a damsel in distress and in dire need of rescuing, he whined for dramatic effect. Sydney pealed with laughter from the visual image of Noah in a dress. Portia opened the door to drop some messages on her desk. She saw Portia's curious eyes. Sydney waved at her and mouthed, Shut the door, before continuing the conversation. Noah, you can't be a damsel. I've seen you, and you're the last person who needs rescuing. You're cracking me up. Stop hedging and give me an answer. Let me think about it. Sydney's words surprised her. A few weeks ago, she wasn't too sure she was ready for dating. Now she was thinking about it? Open your door, she heard. Her heart raced. Was he here at her job? She clicked the end button on her phone and rushed to open the door. Portia's face held an awestruck expression at the handsome man standing a few feet away from her. Sydney felt a momentary satisfaction to see her usually composed secretary rattled. Surprise, Noah said in a low voice. She noticed his eyes sweep her body. She wore a black dress with a green jacket and matching hot green shoes. His blue eyes darkened. Sydney attempted to remain unfazed by his blatant appreciation. She crooked her index finger, motioning to him, and in her professional voice directed, Pastor Charleston, please come inside my office. She added Pastor for Portia's benefit. Pastor? Portia spat out. Her mouth was wide open. Then she licked her lips. Noah walked ahead of Sydney into her office. Behind Noah's back, Sydney placed two fingers across her lips to silence the younger woman. She was sure Noah had heard Portia, though he hadn't shown any reaction. Portia's spunk returned. She mouthed, He's hot. Go for it. Behave, Sydney mouthed back. But she did a brief, happy jig, giddy with the knowledge she had attracted the attention of such a good-looking man. Sydney closed the door. Turning to face Noah, she agreed he was hot. He was dressed in cargo pants, a white tank, and cover shirt with a pair of sandals. Noah did not hesitate. He pulled her into his chest and he placed a kiss on her forehead. Sydney melted. She felt more tiny kisses on both her cheeks before Noah settled his lips on her mouth. His lips felt firm and strong against her supple and soft ones. She liked it. Noah's hands circled her small hips. Sydney knew it was wrong, but she prayed he would move his hands lower. He didn't. Sydney opened her mouth to give him full access, but Noah pulled back. Instead, she felt the touch of his fingers running through her hair, and then he hugged her close to him. I was on my way to the church, but I had to see you, he said. He scanned her office space. Her dry erase board caught his attention. Noah moseyed up to it. What is all this? He asked, pointing to her color coded post its. My to do list, Sydney said, moving to his side. Portia got me hooked on them. I use them to keep track of all of my cases. She pointed to the yellow sticky notes. All these are for one case, and then she pointed to the pink ones, and all these are for another. You're very organized. I have to be. My clients rely on me, and there are substantive payments involved. Sydney linked her arm in through his. I have to ask, are you not allowed to really kiss me? You won't let me stop there, Noah said. Sydney crooked her head. Man, you sound mighty sure of yourself, she said, slightly put out at his haughty assumption that after one kiss she would be falling all over him. Trust me, Noah warned. If I should really kiss you, you wouldn't stop me. Though Noah's words were meant to cool her ardor, his remark only served to ignite her active imagination. His comment tantalized and taunted Sydney all day. Here we are at the end of chapter 4. I really hope you've enjoyed it. I hope your appetite is whet, really, and that you are just, just uh, sizzling. You can't wait to read the rest of Tell Me Lies, and I can't wait to bring it to you November 17th. Again, thank you so much for listening as I read, and I hope you enjoyed this short look into Tell Me Lies.